I want to thank everybody for their time to come out today. It means a lot to us. This is a very important story for everybody in Danbury, and it's why we are here. So we are going to take questions, but first, what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about everything that got us to this point, a little bit of a timeline. So, as you know, Roberto Alves here, candidate for mayor. On July 18th, I was proudly nominated by the Democratic Party to be their candidate for mayor. On July 24th, the Danbury Republican Town Committee did the same and endorsed Dean Esposito and his current super GOP majority to be their candidates for mayor. On August 11th, the Independent Party held a caucus to nominate their nominees for election this year to be the Independent Party members. At that meeting, a group of Independent Party organizers got together, went to that caucus with the intention of ending a decades-long sham, really, by the Danbury Republicans and have Independent Party voices truly be heard. When the Danbury Republicans realized that there was a group of Independent Party members that outnumbered them and were ready to change what they believed was rightfully theirs, I don't believe it was right. What the Danbury Republicans did was they got up and they tried to adjourn a meeting. They tried, but they didn't. The Danbury Republicans stood up and walked out of a meeting. But the Independent Party members in Danbury, they knew that meeting wasn't adjourned. They kept going. They elected a temporary chair, they elected a temporary secretary, and they nominated a slate of candidates for the Independent Party nomination for the 2023 election. At that night, I was endorsed by Independent Party members, and I'm proud to be endorsed by the true Independent Party members on August 11th. Now, when Dean Esposito and his GOP supermajority didn't have their way, what did they do? Did they call their voters? They didn't mobilize to engage their Republican voters to come out on election day? No. They are so power hungry that the only thing they could think to do was hold a second caucus. They held a second caucus on August 21st to then nominate a second set of Independent Party members. We already knew there was one that was submitted, and a little bit later Chairman Reifert will elaborate on what happened in between. These two slates then kind of what got us here. The improper submission of a second slate after we were rightfully endorsed by the Independent Party of Danbury. Now let's take a minute and talk about a couple things. I was nominated by the Democrats on July 18th. After that nomination, I signed a form that says I accept that nomination. This is what you have to do. After I was nominated, I signed that form on the very day in the 11th. On the 18th, I apologize. On July 24th, at the Danbury Republican Town Committee's endorsement, the Danbury Republicans do the same thing. They accept the nomination, and then they sign their acceptance of that nomination. On August 11th, after I was endorsed by the Independent Party, well, this was a couple days after, I didn't sign that day, I signed a sheet accepting the nomination of the Independent Party of Danbury. Now, after that second illegitimate caucus by the Danbury Republicans for their Independent Party, you would think that their nomination forms would also be signed after August 21st. But what we learned in this court case, along with many other things, and I have Exhibit A from the court right here, is that if you look here, the Independent Party candidate statement of consent, Mayor Dean Esposito, well, he signed it on July 24th, a month before the Independent Caucus. Why is that? That's because Dean Esposito and his Republican Party are so entitled. They are so scared of losing power. But again, that sense of entitlement, that this was theirs, because they have controlled the Independent Party as aligned to the Republican Party for so long, that they signed their paperwork the night of the Republican nomination, a month before. That's not an Independent Party. That's not us doing this because we're the sore losers. They lost. They were upset. They are entitled, and this is why we're here. Even further, for these groups that work together, if you go to the last page, If you go to the last page of the signature forms, again, July 24th, July 24th, one of them July 21st, even before the Republican nomination. And you see here where the chairman of the independent party, Visa Ruin, who has become an independent and chairman of that party this summer, because before that, he has been a member of the Republican Town Committee. To my knowledge, still listed on the Republican Town Committee's website as a member, because they haven't even gone through due diligence to do that. Left the Republican Party because they needed a new chair of the independent party who is their person that they can trust. Right here, when he signed it, if we look above, and I'll pass this around to you folks here, at a special meeting of the Danbury Republican Town Committee held on, their official documents that they submit with their signature to the independent party not only were signed on the same day as the Republican caucus, have language from the Republican Party on here. This is official documents that they submitted. This is a sham, folks. This is their entitlement. This is who they are. They will lie, cheat, and steal to hold on to power, and we're not going to tolerate that anymore. This is why this court case was so important. This is why we had to do this, because we are the true independent party nominees. And we thank the judge for ruling correctly, not just for us, but for the city of Danbury. So now no candidate that hasn't been double endorsed is going to be on that line. And now the next thing we do is we call the town clerk to do her duty and expedite the printing of these ballots to get them out there, to not delay this any further. We are imploring that they do not play any more political games with the people of Danbury, because we've had enough. We have the proof, we're going to expose them, and this is what this campaign is about. Now I'm going to hand it over for Chairman Rieperk so he can say a few words before we take some questions.
Thank you, Roberto. I have called upon the town clerk to resign 3 times, and I'm calling upon her to resign today a 4th time. First time I called upon the town clerk to resign from office was when she refused to accept the lawfully submitted slate from Justin Shan, the caucus chairman, and Gretchen Lombardi, the caucus secretary. She refused to sign it. She refused to accept it without even seeing it. She had made up her mind in advance. She had a clear conflict of interest. She was in dereliction of her duties, but she refused to accept it. And I called upon her to resign, and she's never answered that. The Secretary of State's office weighed in and told her, "I'm sorry, town clerk, you have no choice. You must accept the filing." And so reluctantly, the next day on August 17th, she reluctantly accepts the filing, but determines already it's not going to be valid, because there's going to be another meeting where she's going to be endorsed with Dean Esposito and the power-hungry Republicans. And she's going to accept that one. And so when that happened, she proudly attends that meeting, and she gets the nomination from that second group of Republicans, and they walk in, and she doesn't say, "Gee, I've already received another slate, and now I have 2. What am I going to do?" She says proudly, "I know which slate is valid. It's the one that I'm on. It's the one that Dean Esposito is on." And she's doing Dean's bidding by putting that slate on with the Secretary of State. So I call for her resignation when she accepts that slate in the town clerk's office. And we ask her, "What do you intend to do? Do you intend to follow the advice of the Secretary of State and say there's an over-endorsement?" And she says, "No comment. No comment from a public official. No comment." And she waits till the last day, and then she sends her slate and that of Dean Esposito to the Secretary of State's office. We told them we would file a lawsuit because they were wrong, and we filed the lawsuit. And 3 days of testimony later, the judge ruled, yes, they were wrong. And we called upon her again to resign from office. And instead, what does she do? She files an appeal. So let me ask you, how is the city damaged? How is the city of Danbury damaged by this court case? This court case says no one will be on the independent party line that was over-endorsed, period. The town clerk appeals with our taxpayer dollars. Who makes that decision? What harm has come to the city as a result of this case? Nothing. The harm has come to Dean Esposito and the entitlement and the arrogance of the Republicans who feel that by right, somehow, they should be on the independent party line. The judge has already ruled. I'm not sure that the Supreme Court will take up this case. It has no merit. It has no justification. The judge has ruled. The ballots need to be printed. Yesterday at 3:30, the judge ruled. She should have immediately ordered the ballots to be printed. She should not wait. She should order them to be expedited so that those who have asked for absentee ballots can receive the absentee ballots. She didn't wait even though she knew there was going to be a court case. She didn't wait to print the first ballots, now all of which need to be thrown out, wasting taxpayer dollars. She needs to immediately now order the absentee ballots so that they are available and can be sent. And the citizens and the residents and the voters and the taxpayers of Danbury should not be funding the Republican grab to be on the independent line. This is arrogance. This is corruption. This is a dereliction of duty. And this is doing the mayor's bidding. They are entitled, and this needs to come to an end. This isn't about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. This is about a mayor and candidates on the Republican ticket who are entitled and have been called out and have lost. And they need to stop. And they need to get with the program. Resign from office, Jan Giegler. Do not seek re-election this fall, and stop doing the bidding of the mayor. The arrogance is staggering, it is unconscionable, and it's an insult to the voters and taxpayers of the city of Danbury. The party that benefits from the appeal of this case is the Republican Party. The taxpayers should not fund a Republican Party steal of the independent party line. I'll take any questions that you have.
Unfortunately, town hall was closed today. Wondering if you get a sense of like how many absentee ballots were requested in this election cycle or in the typical
I really don't. I don't know to date how many have been requested, but we're already a week behind. But it doesn't really matter, right? They need to go out immediately. And people that have absentee ballot request forms need to continue to send them in. They can't be discouraged by what they may read about some appeal going on, and they'll be discouraged. This is voter suppression.
Yeah, this is voter disenfranchisement, and based on our numbers that we researched, we sent out letters and request forms to about 4,000 voters. So at least there's 4,000 out there who can't get that out in a timely manner. And we're demanding that we don't disenfranchise any voter and we get out the ballots as quickly as possible.
Have you received notification from the Supreme Court as to when they will begin to hear arguments, and have they accepted the request?
There's been no acceptance yet.
None that I'm aware.
You guys can call Attorney Chris Matty, who will talk about any merits in the appeal. He is available today to answer all questions. Apologize, he last minute was not able to make it here.
How much does this cost? First of all, is this you file this personally, or do you file as a politician?
So I'm an individual. So if you look, it says Roberto Alves.
Right.
Roberto Alves is a candidate for mayor, but it is not the campaign, not the entity. So there is no donation money from my campaign going into this law.
How much does this cost you to this point?
$0 at the moment, but we haven't had that conversation yet.
How much will it cost?
I don't know the answer to that, Al. Honestly, we just don't have anything yet. But Chris Matty will be able to answer, certain things like that as well for you.
Okay. So you talked about the printing of the ballots, that she printed them already, but in the court it was stated that she was required by state statute, unless she had an order by a judge, not to stop the process. And at that point the judge ruled that you can stop at that point.
Stop.
Wouldn't that explain why, until the judge made that ruling to say you could stop, she had no other choice but by state statute to
Right.
continue
So-
the process.
No,
And at
correct.
that point, they
I-
stopped, right? I just want to make sure, because that's
Yes.
what he said.
Yes.
Yeah, no, so you're correct at
I know, but-
everything there. So, but what we're saying is now that the court has ruled that that order is gone.
No, I
So now
understand,
she
but that-
immediately needs to get going.
But Larry was talking about that about the printing of the ballot. I'm just saying that she was
new
required by state statute to print them originally, and she had to, the process
Correct.
was stopped by an order of the judge. Correct?
Right. So they were
Okay.
all printed.
Right.
The order that the judge ruled issued was she couldn't mail them out.
Right.
So anybody that had requested an absentee ballot, she couldn't mail the absentee ballot form out until the case was over. Now that the case is ruled that the ballots that were printed are improper, she needs to throw out all those ballots, and she needs to order new ballots, and then when she receives them, she can mail out those absentee ballots for whom she has received a
So
request.
she can do that now while this case is being appealed.
Absolutely. She did the same thing initially when we brought the lawsuit.
But
She
that was
didn't
because
stop.
it was a state statute saying you had to do it until a court, the judge had to give you an order to stop, and that's what the judge did.
100% agree.
Right.
Ask her, however, knowing that there was a case being appealed, if she just printed enough, whatever that number is, that she could logically ascertain would be needed for the absentee ballots only, and hold off on printing all the rest of the ballots that would be needed for election day, or whether or not she arrogantly just went ahead and ordered all of the ballots to be printed, because I think you're going to appreciate the answer from her.
Do you know the cost of printing ballots in general? The line item?
There's probably a line item in the budget, but I don't know, and obviously it varies in the presidential governor's year versus the municipal, because more people show up in those elections. I don't know. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000, but I don't know officially.
The chairman of the Independent Party stated that the group led by Justin Chan, what they did was illegitimate and wrong because under the chairman stated that he adjourned the meeting. Now I know this particular case right here had no involvement within the merits of that particular meeting on the 11th, but Chris Maddy did say in that, that's why I was hoping he was here, that he said that he could prove that adjournment was illegitimate. Could you explain to us why you feel that the chairman of the Independent Party, his adjournment, and Justin Chan reconvening the meeting and becoming chair of the caucus, how was that legal?
All right, so first, the judge ruled it legal. Right, so I'm going to fast forward to the end. The judge ruled, again, we don't have the written case, so I'm not going to elaborate because I don't know that. But the judge ruled that the submissions that Justin Chan made to the town clerk were lawful, because he also ruled that the second slate was submitted to the town clerk and needed to be accepted as well, therefore creating an over-endorsement. If one of those had not been lawful, then there would have been a different outcome in the lawsuit, potentially. Again, we haven't seen the decision. So what happens at a caucus versus a town committee? So I'm the chairman of the Democratic Town Committee. We held a meeting. We have a town committee. There's a chairman of the town committee. There's a secretary. There's a treasurer. There's a vice chairman. We hold a meeting. We nominate candidates. Candidates sign. I walked in and I submitted it. Jan Geigler didn't say to me, wait a minute, what happened at the meeting? I wasn't there. I didn't know. Did you nominate candidates properly? No, she accepted it because that is her obligation to accept it. Okay? When you don't have a town committee, when you are simply a party without a town committee, like the Independent Party, you hold a caucus. And at that caucus, you've seen the video, the chairman of the Independent Party says, what we need to do tonight, after the Pledge of Allegiance, is to nominate a caucus chairman and a caucus secretary. It may be the same person who is the chairman of the party, or it may be anybody else who's a member of the Independent Party. That's what he said. They did the pledge. When the Republicans in the room saw that there were more independents in the room who were prepared to vote for Justin Chan as chairman, as opposed to these as chairman, they made an effort to walk out and adjourn the meeting, which was unsuccessful because they didn't call the votes. They simply stood up and left. when Dean Esposito is sitting in the front row next to Mike Safranek, next to Jan Giegler, next to Jan's husband, and Mike Safranek stands up and says, let's get a motion to adjourn in order. A motion to adjourn is in order. Let's get out of here. They made an effort that the judge deemed to be improper. So the meeting was not adjourned. The meeting continued. A temporary chair was elected. A temporary secretary was elected. Nominations were held. A slate was endorsed. And those candidates that wanted to accept the independent party endorsement signed. And the rest is history.
The Judge Medina in the case, because I was at every day of the court case, he stated that he wanted no part with in the party workings of the thing. So the events of August 11th was never adjudicated in this particular trial. So again, I'm back to the head of the independent party said he adjourned that meeting. That was never resolved in this case.
I think what Larry is saying is the judge believes that there were 2 lawfully submitted endorsements. So that's why the ruling states that you cannot over-endorse, why 4 Republicans will be on the independent line. Right. So that his case is saying that this was done correctly. Now, your question on the adjournment, and I didn't want to go here, but we will quickly. There is video. And when the chairman of the Republican Party was in the audience, pretty much cueing what to do for the independent party, they asked for an adjournment. And folks in that room, and I saw this by video, I was not in the room at the time, as you are aware, but there is video. We can see this. Folks, as soon as they said we're going to motion to adjourn, and somebody says so moved, you hear everybody yelling roll call vote. Procedurally, when there's a roll call vote, what happens? Everybody's vote has to be counted. But even before that, you have to count the names, correct? And sometimes you can adjourn a meeting without that happening if there's no contention. There was contention at that meeting on August 11th because you see the video. The independent party chairman asked for a motion to adjourn. I believe Chairman Safranek or somebody else says so moved. Can I hear the ayes? You hear some ayes. And then Mike Safranek, the chairman of the Republican Party, then says this meeting is adjourned. While everybody, the commotion, the contention, the roll call votes weren't counted, the nays were never asked for, they stood up and walked away. So that meeting wasn't adjourned. That meeting, it was attempted to be adjourned, but it was not. Walking out is not an adjournment, and that's what happened at that meeting.
Okay, well then, what can I say? Can I say then why not file a lawsuit on the merit of the meeting as opposed to the town clerk's action? Because you're saying one thing, the chairman of the independent party is saying a completely different thing. In the video that you talk about, we can get into the.
Good.
I don't want to get into the whole video.
We don't have to file a lawsuit.
Wait, hang on a second.
I'm sorry, sir.
Why not file if you want to preserve your name on the independent party line? You feel that you are the candidate under the independent party line. Why not take that route and say, wait a second, I feel so strongly that my name is right and this thing wasn't adjourned and the thing that you're saying. Why didn't you take that route as opposed to doing this route, which has no bearing on the actual events of August 11th?
Because we believed that the town clerk would do the right thing, which was to either accept the nominations on face value and not, or walk away because she had a conflict of interest, and accept ours. And we asked her to do that, but she's too power hungry and arrogant and does the mayor's bidding. So we still thought she would do the right thing. And then when they had another meeting, we still thought she would do the right thing, and she didn't do the right thing. So we don't, if Wiesner and his Republican cronies believed that something improper had happened at the first meeting, their remedy was to bring a lawsuit against the properly endorsed candidates at the first meeting. Instead, their arrogance suggested to them, since we've done this since 2006, since we've controlled every nominee, we'll just hold another meeting. They didn't want to lawfully adjudicate the issue because when they finally did, the judge ruled against them.
Well, you said you say in your view, there's 2 slates again. You have your slate that came into the town clerk's office, and you have the other slate that came into the town clerk's office. You have an over-endorsement. So again, perfect case scenario, the town clerk accepts both of these things, and you have an over-endorsement, which means, again, you're not on the independent ballot. So again, why wouldn't you fight to keep your name on the independent line? Because in the perfect world scenario, if Jan Giegler, in your opinion, did the right thing, it would have been an over-endorsement, which means you still would not be on the independent line. So again, why wouldn't you just, I'm wondering why you, since it's not a Democratic Party situation, it has nothing to do with the Democratic Party, it has to do with the Independent Party of Danbury, why wouldn't you just fought to preserve your name on the independent ballot line?
Because again,
because this route
maybe I'm a
happens, it's
hopeful here. I think that government is going to work for everybody. We thought the town clerk would do the right thing and do her job. She didn't. We gave her multiple opportunities. And when it came to the point that we had to bring a lawsuit, we knew that she didn't do her job, and that's what the lawsuit was about. So I want to thank everybody for coming here today. If you have any questions on the legalities and the merits of cases, I gave everybody our the cell phone number to our attorney. You can call them for that. Thank you guys.
What do you feel about the independent party? What do you say about the independent registered independent party voters and independent party voters in Danbury?
I think they should be upset with the Republicans who've made a sham of their party since 2006, and it was an injustice to them. And now they know, because they wouldn't have known if we didn't do this. So thank you to all the independent voters in Danbury. Thank you everybody for making the time to come today. It means a lot to me. Thanks.
Chris Maddock can answer any other questions.
You can call Chris more. Well, I'm not sure what you want to ask him, so call him.
I'll call. All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.